in this story, we're very far away from a sunny beach campfire. We're actually going to go to Antarctica, where I work. Also, great to see you again. Happy to be on the show. I love this idea. So we go to Antarctica, where it's really cold, but not as cold as it could be because it is technically the summertime down there. And I'm on a ship, one of the tour expedition vessels, and I conduct my work on tour expedition ships. So pretty luxury there. But it was around Christmas time. What was this, in 2017? And it was my very first time on the peninsula with the tour expedition industry. So for me, everything was like so new and so amazing. And the person who kind of orchestrates what's happening, the operation, is the expedition leader. And so the expedition leader asked everybody on the staff, what is your Christmas wish? And as a scientist, I was interested in looking at this one fjord in Antarctica called Andvord Bay. And in Andvord Bay, there's a very popular site people like to go see penguins at called Nico Harbor. And so it's like shaped like the boot of Italy. So you have to imagine it's a very long fjord. And at the end, it kind of has the little boot shape, like a heel and a toe. And so the tour ship was going to stop at the mouth of the fjord and put people on this little island called Useful Island. And then that was going to be like maybe a 3-4 hour excursion. And then the next stop was going to be down in that fjord at Nico Harbor. And so my wish was to be able to get dropped off in a boat where I could take this little boat and do a transect with one of the other very experienced seasoned guides down the length of the fjord. And then when the ship was done with their operation at Useful Island, they would come to Nico to set up for the afternoon operation, and we would arrive and be there. And so I thought, how cool would that be? Like, do this transect, because my research stems off of a project that had a 5-year study of that fjord called Fjord Eco. And so I was like, I could like kind of recreate that transect and compare it to past years. So I didn't know if this was going to happen for me, right? It's just a Christmas wish. And so Christmas is getting closer and closer. And then December 25th arrives, and the expedition leader pulls out all our wishes, and I get granted my wish. And so I'm like, yeah, I get to do this. Like, we didn't have guest passengers with us. It was just me and another senior polar guide. And so we are loading up the boat of the things we need, and I'm like mapping out the 5 different like stations that I want to kind of do and divide the fjord up. And I'm calculating maybe it's going to take us like 5 hours because we're in a little boat, and then we have to stop and take about an hour at each station, or 40 minutes. We're trying to do it as fast as we can. And so we start at Useful Island. We grab this long range radio because we're going to be too far away from the ship to use our handheld radios. And so the long range radio has this super long antenna on it. And so it was down like this, but it's like hanging. And so I grabbed it and jumped into the boat. And as I grabbed it, it caught on something and snapped. And I was like, oh my God, my first time down here. And I just snapped the antenna of the long range radio on my Christmas wish transect. And so I'm just like, are we not going to be able to go? And the guide who was with me, he was like, don't worry about it. It's still going to work. We'll just kind of jerry rig it when we need to use it. And so we're like, let's just go. So we get in, the operation starts, people are going to the Useful Island, and we're starting. We go to our first station. Everything's going well. We go to our second station. So at each station, we're like dropping instruments in the water to measure temperature, salinity. We're collecting samples so I can understand the microscopic life, the phytoplankton. It's the Fjord Phyto sampling protocol. And as we're hitting, we leave our second station, like the water starts to change. Like you can kind of see it was smooth, but then the deeper we're going into this fjord, it's like getting darker and kind of choppier. And I was like, my first time down in the peninsula, like I don't really know this environment. So whatever, that's what the ocean does. And we go further and further, and my guide is like likes to do the full throttle, so he's just like and I'm holding this wind meter in the air, and I'm like looking at it going up and up and up, and I'm like, gusts are coming. And at first we're like, whatever, a gust, Antarctica's really windy, so it's like a 20 knot 20-mile-per-hour gust of wind is fine. A 30-mile-per-hour gust of wind, fine. But it started getting steadier and steadier. And so we get to our third station and we're starting to set up, and the Zodiac's now like rocking like this. And then the waves are coming into the boat and kind of like getting the floor all wet. And I'm like, this is a little concerning to me. And I'm holding the wind meter up again, and the like 30 knot gusts are holding pretty steady. And then they're going a little higher. And then I'm thinking like, okay, I don't want to be a baby and say like, I feel scared because it's my first time here. And I'm with a very seasoned, like 20 years guide working down here. So I trust him. And so I start to say like, are you concerned about the change in weather we're experiencing? And he's like, oh, it's fine. That's just what happens in Antarctica. And I'm like, okay. And so we're finishing up. But then it just started to get more steady winds and stronger gusts, to the point where I was like, I don't actually like need to die for science. So, so I was just like the gusts were holding steady, and to the point where I was like, I'm starting to feel worried too, because now the little waves coming in have little white caps on them because the gusts are just like blowing this, and it's cold water. It's like -1 Celsius water. So when it hits your face, it's just like insta freeze. And we're all bundled up and we're trying to like do science with our little fingerless gloves on. And it's just like, maybe we just call it. Like, maybe this isn't the day. And so we're like, okay, let's like put the long range radio up and check in with the bridge. And so we raise the broken antenna, and I'm just sitting there holding it. And he radios in like bridge, Zodiac, whatever. This is driver. And so the bridge is like putting out all Zodiacs back. Katabatic winds have come out of nowhere. Everybody abort the missions, abort operations. And we're like, oh, dang. Like, okay, it's not just us. So katabatic winds they happen in Antarctica. So it's like cold wind or cold air at the top of a glacier starts picking up speed and is gravity driven. So then it's just like can come off a glacier really cold and super fast. And so like Antarctica environment changes within 10 minutes. And so we're like trying to book it back to Useful Island. And we have to now start helping shuttle people off the island because they're on this exposed mountain of rock. And they're like, not a younger demographic. So they're having trouble like doing this hike in this boulder field. And so we start doing shuttle runs, but it's like the gusts are coming and we're getting sprayed with water, and people are literally like crawling on their hands and knees down the mountain. And I'm just like, like, this is insane. And like, I'm not going to tell my boss this because like my PhD advisor, she would not be okay with this. But I didn't actually end up doing that transect for Christmas. But 5 days later, the weather turned nice and we got to redo the whole thing. And I did end up doing the transect on a beautiful, crystal clear, blue sky day. But that was my first introduction to like how crazy Antarctica can get in a matter of minutes, and like little mini rescue operations you have to be prepared for because you never know what's going to happen. So.
Oh my gosh. And the fact that that was your first day out and about, like your first trip, like, we're just going to throw you into Mother Nature here. Hope you survive.
Yeah. And I'm not like a big maritime, seagoing person background at that time. Now I've accumulated over 300 days in Antarctica. So I've seen a lot worse, actually. I've been now in situations that have turned worse. But yeah, that was just, it makes you feel so alive and invigorated. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is an environment where literally humans are not supposed to be because nature is so raw and powerful here. So yeah, I felt alive, but I also did feel terrified.
Well, okay, now I gotta know about these other stories. Did something actually bad happen on one of these days? Like,
nothing bad, like, knock on wood, nothing bad has happened or will happen yet to me. But there was a similar situation in, so one of the operators I worked for, we would do fly-in cruises. So you go to one of the islands in the South Shetland Islands, which is like next to the main Antarctic peninsula. And there's a research base there that has a ability to fly in people. So like 75 passengers can come fly in and then you bring them to the ship. And so if it's too cloudy, you can't fly people because there's no real airport there. It's all visual. And so you just kind of have to wait if you're the ones on the ship until the clouds clear enough. So when they leave the airport in Chile, they have enough time to get to the peninsula, which is about 2.5 hours flight. But then they'll bring new people. And so then your ship people are transferring. So you do a swap and then they have to fly back 2.5 hours. So they need a weather window to stay open for that long. And the models that they can predict that it won't close up again. Because if the cloud cover comes low, then they can't. You don't want people stuck there because there's no real facility to there's no hotel or lounge room to hang out in. And so there was a day where we had been stuck for 3 or 4 days. And so people are kind of getting anxious. They're missing whatever they had booked after. They want to get off the ship. There's really no more entertainment we can provide because we've kind of gone through our show for that week. And so, we're digging into the bottom of the barrel of expedition stories from your lecture team, playing games, bingo, movie night. And so, but we can't also go do excursions because if you're away from the ship for too long and people are on an island nearby doing an operation and you get the call that the flight's coming, it's not enough time to get everybody back on the ship, get all their luggage and then go because it's just too complicated. So you are really kind of stuck on the ship. But there is one little island we could go visit. So we did put people on the island. And it was fine in the beginning. And then on the radio, I hear the cruise manager say to the expedition leader, hey, not sure what your wind gauge is reading, but on the bridge, the wind's starting to pick up. And from the looks of it, it doesn't look like it's going to be good. And then 5 minutes later, they call again and they're it's getting stronger, 30 knot gusts, gusting to 40 knots. Maybe we should get everybody back on the ship. And again, within 10 minutes, everything totally changed. And I got designated to get put in a dry suit, a kayaking dry suit. And so then all the expert top drivers were assigned to be driving to bring the boats in. And this beach was very steep and very big pebbly. So it was kind of you couldn't really get your footing. And the people on the beach were already kind of segregated and waiting for the boats to come in. And so they were kind of trying to stay out of the gusts of wind. But the beach master had everybody lined up and ready. It was going to be game time as soon as that boat came in. And so we drive in the boat. The driver has to spin the boat to do a stern landing because that beach, the way it is, the waves just crash on it super high. And so it's better to spin the boat and then load people in. And you can then you're taking waves face on and you just can then drive away easier. And so I was the boat catcher. So I'm on the shore, but as the boat comes in and spins, I'm part of the team that has to help spin the boat and then hold it. And I'm tall. So I was touching the ground and I catch the boat. You also want to make sure the engine doesn't cut you with the propeller or the transom. So you're trying to coordinate. It feels very football sort of. And the beach master's making the calls and telling them what to do and grab the start and flip the boat, go, go, go. And then people are trying to load into the boat, but they're getting scared because the waves are coming in. And then I'm holding the lines on the Zodiac, but then because that beach is really steep, when the wave comes in, I get lifted up. There was points where I was being lifted and I couldn't even touch, and then I'd go back down. And I'm I'm tall, I'm 5'10", so I was just. But I'm also the one who's nearest to the shore, and so the people coming on just want to hang on to me. And I'm I can't hang on to the boat and have you hang on to me. You got to use your legs. You have to use your own legs and get yourself in this boat because I can't hold it and try to help you get in. And so it ended up being another guide on the land jumped in the boat because the driver also can't help because the driver's trying to hold the tiller. And so, and not let the nose of the boat get caught sideways. So another person jumps in the boat and is trying to just pull people in because I think with fear, people get paralyzed and shocked or they go jelly legs and they're just stand up, please. Please stand up. And so, and the shape of the Zodiac is a big bulbous kind of rubber pontoon thing. So it's not easy to kind of get yourself in there. And so once people are in there, it's like the waves are crashing, the wind is gusting, it's ice cold. People are crying. And then we like sit with them and we send them off. The last boat, it was like, then you have to, get through the waves to get back to the main ship. And the main ship is trying to adjust itself to give us a lee so we can get up to the side of the ship and then get people off. And so people, yeah, they're crying. Everybody, like, you're also trying to maintain composure. You're like, this is cool. We got this. No worries. And we're like calling the bridge, like, the captain, can you please turn the main ship to give lee? And we're all hiding behind the main boat and the expedition leader. It was like, kind of, I don't know. I felt like they were like Mel Gibson and Braveheart. They're just like, go, go. And so one at a time would like go. And you had to be very calculated. And you had to like, also when you're emptying your boat and putting it back on the hook, you have to like drive up to the hook it immediately. But the whole thing's just moving, like the ocean's moving and the wind is blowing. And it's like miserable, but invigorating. And so we get back on board. Everybody's safe. Everybody's alive. And the energy that evening was like on fire. It was just like everybody's adrenaline was so heightened. And to this day, there's people on Instagram that will just like, we connected because of that experience we shared together where we're like, we survived. Like, so, like, and then they're teasing themselves because they were crying. And it was like, the industry is never putting itself in danger. There's always risk assessment. But Antarctica is one of the most extreme environments on Earth. So, of course, you have to be prepared for it changing. And the guides are incredibly experienced. But it can be pretty gnarly and scary.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. I'm speechless. Like, I do tourism and I go to some pretty remote places, but I do not have a story like that. Holy crap.